Welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me today, it is a pleasure to have on the podcast with us Captain Evan Hlavacek.
Thank you.
And no, John did not weasel his way out. I actually gave him an out, and the reason is because we are still promoting the fact that we're hiring new firefighters. And we talked to Leslie and Zach last week, Evan, and that was great. I think they did a great job coming on, and over 100 views in the first day, which nobody ever watches us. So I was a little surprised.
Now you're putting some pressure on me.
But we were promoting it. And one of the things that we've talked about for quite a while is really trying to speak to athletes or former athletes and people that may not have thought about the fire service as a career. But the reality is, if you are an athlete and you're not going to be in the major leagues or you retire from the major leagues, whatever that is, really firefighting is an athletic career. And to that end, I asked if, now he will say voluntold. I didn't voluntold him anything.
No, you didn't. Chief Freitag kind of brought it up.
It rolls downhill.
Thanks. I hear you. Yep.
So, but Evan, you've got a great story, a great background. And to start, where did you grow up?
Born in Connecticut, but I was a year old when we moved up to San Jose, California.
Okay.
So grew up in California, went to school in San Diego, and then graduated there. And then we moved here. My wife actually was in grad school at ASU, and that's what brought us to Arizona.
Okay.
And then shortly after, we came up to Yavapai.
Now, when you were in San Diego, you said you went to school there, but you actually went to San Diego State. Is that correct?
No, USD, University of San Diego. Yeah.
Okay.
It's I guess it's a smaller school, closer to the ocean, but yeah, right down the road, basically.
So what did you study when you were in college?
Communications with a mass media emphasis. I thought I wanted to be a sports broadcaster for ESPN. That didn't work out. So yeah, the reality was I went to school to play sports. Okay. And I think it was my sophomore year, you have to declare a major. And I remember my coach said, "Hey man, you need to go see the counselors. You need to declare your major." And so I thought, yeah, I like ESPN, I like sports, I'll give it a shot. And I think I did actually minor in sociology too, or psychology, something.
Is that how you met your wife?
We did. Yep, we met at USD.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Very cool. So you played college ball
the
entire time. So you played football through high school.
Yep.
And your thought was ESPN, but at one point did you think about actually going pro with NFL?
Yeah, that was my lifelong goal, actually, since I was a little kid. And so, yeah, after college ball, USD is not a big-time powerhouse program. Okay. But I thought, what the heck, I'm going to give it a shot. Okay. And so at the time, I don't remember exactly how I heard of a workout, and it was at El Camino College, I believe, in Los Angeles. And so I drove up there kind of on a whim, and I think I had to pay like a couple $100, and it was almost like a meat market. Okay. You go in there, it was like a combine, I guess, and you go and you take off your shirt, and they make you turn around, and they look at you, and they film all this stuff, and you run your 40, you do the bench, broad jump, some one-on-one type drills, and they videotaped it all. And if you got prorated, they sent off the tape to all arena leagues, CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, and the NFL. And so I got a high enough rating that they sent my tapes out. And shortly after that, I got a phone call from Albany, New York, the arena football team in Albany. And they said, "I'd like you to come out and try out for our team. We're not going to pay for your flight. But if you make the team, we'll reimburse you." So I flew out to, I think the tryout was in Indiana, and made the team. And then I actually had to go to camp and I guess I was invited to the camp, which was in Albany, and ended up making that team and playing arena football for the better part of 9 years. I did get a shot at the NFL in 1999, didn't make it there. So that's kind of my athletic story there.
So who did you have a shot with in the NFL? What team was it?
Jacksonville Jaguars in 1999. And that was a fun experience. I definitely how do I say? I knew I wasn't the fastest guy on the field anymore when I got there. So it was fun. It was tough. It was basically the first time I really, I guess, failed at football, if you will. You know what I mean? So that was a little bit humbling. But ended up finishing a couple more years with the Rattlers down in Arizona. And the Colorado Crush 2006, I think. So.
Oh, wow. So not only did you have a football career, but there were some movies in there as well.
There were, yes. That came through the Arena Football. Had an opportunity to go to the movie with The Longest Yard. Adam Sandler produced it. And then another opportunity in the movie Invincible. That I got to hang out with Mark Wahlberg there for
very cool.
a little bit. And that was fun. Those were good opportunities. And got to see some things behind the scenes that I guess normal people wouldn't know about those movie stars.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know if you want to ask some questions about them, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's pretty exciting. You had mass communications degree. You ultimately got to use some of those skills as you were on set.
Yeah, well, not really, honestly, Chief. It was, like I said, more of we were playing football, and they were trying to make it look like as authentic as they can.
Okay.
And so we were out there basically playing football for the most part, and, yeah, that was it.
That's pretty cool, though. And I know that I was talking to Bob Curry today, and he said sometimes they'll turn on The Longest Yard and then they'll pause because there's a scene that they can pick you out in where you're sitting in the bleachers with long curly hair. Now, was that a wig or did you actually have hair?
No, I actually did have long hair at the time. And
really?
Yeah, I know. And then age and whatnot, I've lost it.
You've lost it.
Yeah.
So you had a great athletic career that you were focused on. At what point did you think maybe the fire service?
Well, so I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. I finished my career in 2006, and I didn't know what I wanted to do afterwards.
Okay.
I read a book. I think it was called "What Color Is Your Parachute" or something like that.
Okay.
And it was supposed to help kind of guide you in the direction of what you wanted to do with your career. Like I said, basically a guide, I guess, to figure out your career path.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, it led me down the line of selling life insurance and mutual funds. And so I thought, what the heck? Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. So I went out and interviewed, got a job. Excuse me. Got my Series 6, 63. And basically the job entailed just cold calling people until you got people to agree to meet with you.
Okay.
And then you would try to basically sell them life insurance, mutual funds. And the company that I worked for, they basically focused on teachers with the ASRS and small business owners. And so I did that for about a year, and cold calling was brutal. And then setting up appointments. You go to the schools. I mostly dealt with the teachers.
Okay.
And then getting no-showed quite a bit. And one day, my wife and I were driving to church, and I knew I was getting pretty frustrated with the job and driving back and forth across basically Phoenix. We lived in Gilbert at the time, and the job was all the way downtown Phoenix, and so it was about a 35, 40-minute commute. Wasn't doing well. Wasn't making a lot of money. Like I said, we were driving to church, and we were in a left-hand turn lane. It was a 2 left-hand turn lane, I guess.
Okay.
That's not making any sense. And I think I was daydreaming at the time. I saw the light turn green. I kind of veered into the other lane, and there was another gentleman next to me.
Okay.
And he got on his horn, and he was giving me the what for. And I lost it, man. I was cussing and was ready to get out and fight this guy. And I don't remember if we stopped we had another light, and I was thinking, dude, I'm going to get out and we're going to do some things. But light turned green, and then I thought, dude, something's got to change.
Right.
So Monday rolled around, I went to work, I had set up a meeting. I believe it was in Coolridge, down south of Gilbert. It was a 45-minute drive south of where Gilbert. And so went down there, got no-showed again, and I thought, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And I don't know, honestly, I don't have any family in the fire service.
Right.
It honestly didn't really pop in my head. You know, the book didn't point me in the direction to say, no, the fire service is going to be something that you would enjoy doing. And so I got to thinking about, I truly love sports, the camaraderie, this physicality of all that. And I just basically was driving home. We lived in Gilbert, like I said, and I think there was a fire station on Gilbert and Greenway. And I just randomly pulled into the parking lot, and I knocked on the door, and they were there. And I wish I remembered the people's names there. You know what I mean now, but I don't remember them. And one of the firefighters, I think, answered the door, and I said, hey, I know this is so random, but, you know, how do I go about getting your job, or, you know what I mean, become a firefighter?
Right.
And he said, come on in, and you can sit down with our captain, and he can line you out. So they invited me in, and I must have sat down with him for probably over an hour. And now looking at it, I'm glad that they didn't catch a call or whatever, you know what I mean? Because who knows what would have come out of that if I wasn't able to sit with him for an hour at that time. And I guess he said he was a banker for 10 years. And it was just a really good relationship. He asked me what I did in the past and those type of things. And he said, no, I think you'd make a good fit for this. And so he kind of lined me out on what I need to do with getting my EMT and some other calls that I needed to take in classes. I guess I just needed my EMT down there. Okay. Because up here we needed our 1 and 2 and hazmat and all that other stuff. And so I said, okay. And he said, you could take that at your local community college. And I said, okay. So I left, thanked them, and quit my job selling life insurance and mutual funds, and got a job at Target. Started at 4 a.m. and got off at 10, and was not making much money. So Jenny and I were struggling there for a little bit. Had a 2-year-old, so it was a little bit stressful because she was still in grad school. Right. But I did that so I could go to night school to get my EMT. Right. And then started to network a little bit down there. There was a battalion chief for, I believe it was Chandler or maybe Gilbert, who taught the EMT class. And I was kind of picking his brain and trying to figure out what was the best way to get on, how to test. And at the time, I believe my wife was actually looking for employment down there as well. And she was she tested for, I guess not tested, but interviewed for Chandler Gilbert Community College, which is right down the street, a small school in Texas, and Yavapai College. Gotcha. And so obviously she ended up getting the job up here, moved us up here. I finished my EMT down there, and was now trying to figure out a way how to get a job up here. Right. So anyways, I kind of got sidetracked there of what your question was.
It was just, how did you get, what led you into the fire service?
Okay. So basically the job that I didn't like, and I guess I had to do a little bit of soul searching too, I knew, like I said, I really enjoyed the team aspect of sports, right? The locker room atmosphere, the physicality of it all, basically working together to accomplish a goal. In sports, it's you winning the game. You know what I mean? Here in the fire service, it's whatever task call we're on, we're working together to mitigate the incident. And so I didn't know much about how that worked. I just knew that it seemed to be a team environment. There's a group of people in a fire engine. They seem to work as a crew, cohesively. Absolutely. And obviously through my years of football and physical fitness, I thought it would be a good fit. And then after talking to that fire captain for Gilbert, it kind of confirmed that. And I proceeded to do what a lot of people do and, get on that grind and test. I tested down there in Phoenix, went there like many people have and sat in that auditorium with 1,500 people. I tested for Gilbert, didn't make it there. Even tested for Prescott. I think that was the first time I tested when I was out of the academy here.
Right.
And I think I was like 21st on their list or 17th or something like that. So, yeah, ended up going through our academy here. And that's how I haven't made it here 12 years later.
So what do you think of the transition from sports to the fire service? Because you talked about the athleticism, just from a personal standpoint. We'll talk more about the team atmosphere, but from a personal standpoint, saying, I'm transitioning from my goal of being a professional athlete, working in the Arena League, and now looking at the fire service saying, and that, there's a lot of physicality to this. It's like an athletic profession. How has that been for you? Do you see the connection at all?
I think it's, for me, I think that is one of the biggest things that I do enjoy about this job is that the locker room type atmosphere, if you will, when we're at the station or even in the cab driving around, and I guess you could almost say like pre-planning incidents, talking about what we did, how we can do things better.
Right.
It's very similar to cutting down and watching film and preparing for your opponent as we're preparing for calls. So whether it be training or whatever, so those are some parallels there as well. But for me, it's just the camaraderie that you don't really get, or I haven't found in any other profession, because I don't know. There's nothing like you busted on a structure fire with your crew,
right?
And the other guys are working just as hard, and you're doing good work, and you have a positive result, like getting a win, and then you go back to the station, and I don't know. It's something that I guess it just builds a deeper bond that I think that a lot of other occupations just don't have.
Right.
And so that to me it was a great attraction. I think for other people who have an athletic background, I think they'll find that very appealing as well. So
well, and we have an expectation of physical fitness, and I think at our organization we've taken that very seriously, because this is the third fire service agency I've worked for in my career. I always took physical fitness seriously everywhere that I worked, but when I came here to see the level of emphasis through the peer fitness group that we have, the annual physicals or biannual physicals that we take depending on your age, the fact that we do the what do they call it, the stretch test.
Yeah, I know. I wish Cruiser was in here. He'd tell you.
Yeah, I can't think of what it is, but we really focus on that fitness, and we're serious about it. And to that end, we make sure that crews have time between calls to get those workouts in during the day. Every fire station has access to gym equipment.
Yep.
Some facilities are better than others.
Yeah, for sure.
But we make sure that we try to provide the best fitness equipment that we can, and opportunity and time to spend in there.
Yeah, and I think we do a very good job of taking care of our employees that way. That wellness center is coming together really nice. I think it's one of the better, if not, it is the best workout facility that we have. And I think it's going to provide that opportunity for us to come into the gym off duty as well.
Yeah.
And I think overall fitness is imperative for this job.
Sure.
You need to make it your lifestyle. I think we're doing a good job with that.
Well, and I think we're trying to instill it in the culture of the organization across the board. So even the folks that work in our administrative offices, we give them an hour a day, and they divide it up however they divide it up, where they can go work out. And we've had some donated equipment that's in one of the suites that's not built out yet. So it's kind of a mini gym area for them to use. But the intention is when we build out the rest of the administrative offices, we're adding an executive fitness area to admin because we take that seriously. And the reality is the more fit our folks are, the fewer injuries or the faster they come back from injuries. We utilize the insurance less for illnesses because we're taking care of ourselves.
Right.
And that's vitally important. That's why I think it was Alan Bernasini years ago, this is what I was told, and this is why I wanted to look at it from this perspective, but he started going to the colleges and saying to the athletic departments, are you going pro? And if the answer is no, then do you want to be an athlete for your career? Because like you said, you have the team environment. The locker room's a metaphor. We don't act like what you see on TV with the locker rooms. That's not what we do. But the idea of the camaraderie, the ability to joke with each other, to have meals with each other, those types of things, and really build that. And I actually had the opportunity to see you teaching a class once. And when you mentioned breaking down things on a board, it makes sense to me now why you were so well versed as you drew the stuff on the board and talked about how everything worked and how it played out. It really falls in line with being in that locker room with the team and with the coach, and the coach drawing out on the board.
Sure.
Here's what this looks like.
Yeah. And I guess talking about the locker room or whatever, but I do think it's also a good chance for us to diffuse after calls,
right,
and that type of thing, because it's important, I think, you know what I mean, to keep a healthy mindset. And I guess you can confide in those people because of what you guys go through on the job. And I don't know. You're not going to get it in any other career.
Well, and I think, when you're in a team environment, football team, baseball team, whatever, you understand the idea that it's not one individual that makes the team. It's everyone on the team that makes the team what it is. I think it's very similar to what we see in the fire station, in that we really build that team environment, because on the field, we want to play to win. On an emergency scene, it's, hey, we want everybody to go home.
Right.
And not just and go home in one piece. You can go home broken, but we don't want you to go home broken.
True. So
the team comes together to train, to pre-plan, to diffuse, to work out, hey, what happened after this? Let's after action this call we just went on, and let's talk about it. What went well and what didn't, so that we can be better next time. But the reality is you're counting on each other for your safety.
Yes.
And that's an important dynamic in the fire service, and it's something that people don't think about. And, we're looking for people to apply with our agency today. And we want them to come in and want to be part of something greater than themselves, something dynamic, something progressive, something that when they go home at night, they can be proud of what they've done.
Right.
When they go home from shift, I feel good about what I brought to the community.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're out there looking for a job and you're an ex-athlete, I do think you need to look into the fire service. God dang it. Like I said, there's nothing that I found, and I was super passionate about football and sports, and it was a fit for me. And I think that if you are in my shoes and are kind of a little bit searching for your next career, or this is the beginning of your career, and you're an athlete and you really like that team environment, the camaraderie that you get from being on a team, I truly think you need to look into the fire service as a career.
And you have athletes, you also have military, and I hear a lot when I listen to the Jocko podcast. He's like, people that get out of the military need to find their next mission, and because that's their identity. And so there are people out there, if you're looking for your next mission in life, whether you're an athlete or you're getting out of the military, or we have a couple of guys that work here that were air traffic controllers who went out, got their certs, and then switched careers. I mean, they made a lot more money as an air traffic controller.
Yep, but I don't know if it was as rewarding I think, you know what I mean? There is something to be said, like you were saying, at the end of the day, we did good in the community today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is a rewarding feeling to go home and say, yeah, talk to your wife about it. Like, yeah, we never did this and that, but we did make a difference in person's life today. And yeah, I think that's also an appeal for this line of work too.
I think that's definitely appeal for this line of work. And when I talked to one of our fire prevention folks who retired as a battalion chief and now works in fire prevention, retired from another agency. And he shared with me that some of their best hires over the years who were people who decided the career that I'm in today is not for me. This is not where I want to go. This is not what I want to do. I want to do something more for my community. And we see that with you coming in as a former athlete. We see that with Russ and Jake coming in as former air traffic controllers, or Dustin, we have a lot of former construction guys that are here, some who own companies who took a chance and got involved in the fire service, and they have just excelled. All of you have.
Yeah. I do think, like I didn't mention earlier, but I worked for a year in construction up here.
Right.
And I think people who work in the trades, there are also a lot of parallels that you can kind of use in that line of work that will be helpful in the fire service.
Yeah.
Just as far as how the wood frame construction is built, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the different dimensions and roof lines and pitches and those type of things they're correlated to our job and how we size up a structure, and, you know, where means of ingress and egress will be as well. So I also think that my short time in the trades has helped me in this line of work. And so even if you're in construction, go ahead and submit an application. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's you might surprise yourself to the knowledge that you've learned on the job as far as like the trades job, how it correlates to our line of work as well.
Well, it definitely helps with the background in building construction, and then you learn the science of fire, and now you take that science with your knowledge of the building construction, and you can figure out how the building is going to act under fire conditions. And I don't think a lot of people realize, when you look at the fire service as a career, how much knowledge a person has to have. Because and this was pointed out, Ron Fain took our Fire Ops 101 class, and in the end he said, what amazes me, and I never knew this about the folks that work here, is the breadth of knowledge that they have to have and how quickly they have to shift and apply a different set of skills.
Sure.
All within an hour of each other. Hey, we just went from a structure fire to a significant car crash with extrication to an EMS call within a 4-hour period. And each one requires a different skill set that you learn in the fire service. Yep. And some people look at a structure fire and say, oh, the firefighters are here. The knuckle draggers will take the hose, go up to the building, fling themselves at it with the water, and eventually the fire will go out. And the reality is, especially as a first-in-company officer, getting off that engine, you're not just dragging hose and...
No, you got a lot of things going through your mind. You're processing quite a bit of information. And again, I think people who have played athletics, and obviously the higher the level, I think it helps. I think, you know what I mean? Being under that level of stress, being able to perform under pressure, because obviously if you're not performing under pressure, you're not going to no longer be playing at that level. But I think that background...
the idea that you have to think quickly, make a decision. And go with it, you know what I mean? And we're rolling with it. The decision that we made, we'll deal with the outcome. Obviously, in this line of work, safety is imperative, and that's something that we always in the forefront of our mind. But same with athletics. I think being able to perform under pressure, being able to make that decision, those are all really good attributes that stem from the athletic side of it, and it'll translate well to our line of work. Well, and under pressure, I mean, not just in the moment during the day, but 2:00 in the morning, the tones go off, and you have to recall everything that you've learned for whatever the incident is. And the other interesting part of this job that makes it fun is you'll get the dispatch, right? Hey, respond for this. Right. And you're like, cool, we're going to that. And then you get to that, and what they called in and said is not the issue.
Sure. Yep. That's happened a few times, and you'll have that, right? But you got to adapt and overcome. And that is part of, I guess, the fun of this job. You know what I mean? Is you're going to have to turn something that wasn't so good into something that's better, I guess, so.
And there's a lot of dynamics that go with it. And we're living in a time where we're seeing a cultural shift, so to speak, with some of the new generation that say, you want me to be in a career for how long?
Right.
I want to make as much money as I can in 5 or 10 years and then take some time off and travel, and then I'll come back and work another 5 or 10 years in another job. And this really is a career. I mean, if you commit to the fire service, you really need to commit yourself to 25 years of service. But if you think about it, if you're 20 and you've got to put in 25, or you're 25, whatever it is, you still have the opportunity to retire at a young age,
sure,
a relatively stable pension, and the opportunities in this career field to do more than just firefighter, EMT, or paramedic.
Right.
Man, the things that I get to do, because I started out as a basic firefighter medic, and the things that I get to do today versus then, I would have never thought I would be in that position to travel, speak, present, learn. This career is what you want to make out of it. That's another great attribute to this is, well, what do you want your career to look like?
Sure. There's tons of avenues that you can, once you get your foot in the door, there's tons of avenues that you can take. And I think it's just up to you to look and see what you enjoy doing and then go for it. And our organization definitely supports our membership as far as if they want to try to do something. I've never heard them say no.
Right.
And I think that's another good. Yeah.
It's one of the great things about working for CAFMA is we provide you opportunity. And
fact.
If we had a temperature gauge today, we would show you why it's better to work for us than it is to apply down in the valley. Because while it's warm here,
it's warmer, exponentially warmer down there.
Down in the valley. So where it's 118 degrees there, it's like 102.
Yeah, which isn't
here. It's a dry heat.
Yeah, it's bearable.
I'm from Missouri. I can say that. I know what humidity is.
Sure.
So, I mean, this career field to me, I have gained far more from this career and the people I've been able to meet and learn from than I think I could ever give back.
Sure.
And to me, that's a good feeling. And like you said, even when you get off the engine and you go home, you feel like you have a sense of accomplishment with what you did during the day. You've learned, you've given back to the community, you've intervened in someone's day when they needed it, and you were there for them and made a difference. And even for me in my position, when I go home at night, I feel a sense of accomplishment once I stop working. Because when I go home, I don't stop. But when I do stop, I feel like, man, there's a sense of accomplishment. And if I'm not doing something, I don't feel like I'm giving the taxpayers or all of you what you deserve from me.
Right.
So when there's a slow day for whatever reason, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm stealing from people. I need to go do something.
Right.
Now the other people in the office are like, no, stay, sit, don't think of anything else. No more ideas, no more. Just sit there and be quiet. I'm not going to do that, just in case they're wondering. It's not going to happen.
Fair enough. Because
I think that's the other part of being in the fire service is it's a dynamic field, and it's one that you don't get stagnant. Yep. You're either going forward or you're getting left behind. Those are the two options.
Yep.
And I think as an organization, we try to move forward. The podcast is an example of that. The idea that, hey, you know what? We need to shift our focus on how we recruit, and potentially even change the requirements that we have, so that we can look at bigger talent pools, and in some ways, because when we are looking for firefighters, we are competing right now. Our firefighter application process is open, but we're competing with Prescott Fire Department. We're competing with Phoenix Fire, Scottsdale, Superstition. We're competing with Surprise, Tucson, Golden Ranch, Northwest. all of us are looking for people, and that's a challenge.
Sure. Yep, I agree. I mean, I think what we're trying to do right here is a good thing. You know, I think the younger generation, use that loosely, I think they'll find, I guess, maybe an opportunity online as opposed to word of mouth back in the day. And I'm losing my train of thought. Geez.
That's okay. This is, you know, it's a rewarding career field. But the other thing we have to look at, and just for our folks internally, is all of those places that I listed, with the exception of maybe Prescott, none of them require you to have firefighter 1 and 2 to get hired. They require EMT, but the firefighter 1 and 2 you get through their academies.
Yep, that's how it was even when I was trying to test for them, whatever it was, 12 or 13 years ago.
And so what we're finding is requiring the firefighter 1 and 2 actually may be hindering our ability to really recruit from different talent pools. People who may be a banker today, who was a banker for 10 years and like, you know what? There's something else that I want to do. I'm not feeling fulfilled here. But because of my job requirements and family requirements, I can't just go seek this.
Right.
If we extend our academy and provide the hazmat level as part of it, and firefighter 1 and 2, it might give us access to a greater talent pool. Now, that's not this time around. This time around, we're firefighter 1 and 2. You have to be an EMT. It's just when we look at the number of applications, and even the agencies down in the valley are struggling with the number of applications they used to get versus what they have today. The other part of that, and I've talked to the Army recruiter out of Phoenix, and he's like, hey, how can we help our military veterans transition out of the military and potentially into the fire service? Well, the challenge for these folks is they're coming out of the military and they can't just necessarily not work.
Right.
And go to school. So they need to find a way that they can get their EMT, which they could get while they're on duty. Getting the firefighter 1 and 2 becomes a challenge when you're active duty. So we may open ourselves up to a talent pool in the military as well by saying, look, here's your bridge. Get your EMT while you're in the military, and when you come out, start looking at a fire service career. And we will even send people to your out processing and sit down and talk to them about opportunities in the fire service.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We have several members that are ex-military as well.
Right. And we have some that are active right now.
Yep.
That are in the reserves.
Yep.
We have a helicopter pilot from the reserves.
Yep.
I'm still trying to get that helicopter for us here since Josh can fly us. And I've got room to land it.
Perfect.
So that would really help me in my travels.
Yeah.
So, Evan, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think your background is something that people need to hear, because if they're looking for a rewarding career, if you've been an athlete and you're firefighter 1 and 2 today, look at us. Look at CAFMA. Go to our website, cazfire.org. Click on the employment button at the bottom, although I'm working with Jonah right now to maybe put a now hiring button that's highlighted on the front page when we are hiring.
It's already there.
It's already there.
So Jonah already took care of that, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Michael.
So Michael already took care of that, so it's perfect, so it's out there. But Evan, again, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I know that you were coerced, but I appreciate it anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You betcha.
All right. Until next week, go on our website, pull up an application, and submit it to our Human Resources Division. Look at CAFMA. I think that we have a great organization. We have a lot to offer people, and we have some fantastic people for you to work with. So we look forward to hearing from you.